Hello students, I am Dr. Hari Prasad, professor here at the Department of Biophysics, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. I am here today to tell about aspects of biophysics as a subject, as a course, as a MD course here at the department, as a platform for research and translational research, and also talk about the possible job opportunities and scope after completion of MD Biophysics. Physics is the very basic component of applied aspect of what is represented in the field of engineering. So, the culmination of medicine and engineering at a very subtle level is what is here at biophysics. Okay? That is about understanding biophysics as a topic. Now, if you have to go on to understanding this as a subject, what is it that is being taught here at the department and what is the course structure? So, MD Biophysics course is not in many places, leave alone India, across the world. I think within India also you hardly have it at 2-3 places, AIIMS being one of them. So, biophysics as a course here constitutes of a 3-year framework. In the first 6 months, the student is expected to write a thesis protocol by coordinating with a particular faculty on a particular topic, and the thesis will constitute the thesis protocol will have the objectives, it will have the detailed methodology, how the student is going to go about doing the objectives, and it will also highlight what could be the possible outcomes of that particular thesis. So, this thesis protocol is to be submitted within the first 6 months. After that, the student will work for 2 years on that particular thesis topic with guidance from the faculties who will be the guide and co-guides of the student, and then submit the thesis at the end of the 2 years, but in the 3-year framework it will come down to 2.5 years. Once you are done submitting the thesis, you will continue with the coursework for the rest of the 6 months and then take a final examination, that is the MD Biophysics examination at the end of 3-year course. During the entire period of 3 years, there will be a lot of theory classes, practical demonstrations of different aspects of experiments that are taking place in the Department of Biophysics across different labs, and then seminars, journal clubs, all those academic activities are included. At the end of 3 years, you will be taking your examination, which will have many components. The first component will be a theory examination. The theory examination comprises of 4 papers. The first paper is Allied Biophysics, where you discuss or understand you're asked questions about the basic aspects of biophysics. In paper 2 and 3, you are tested for your understanding of the principles of molecular biophysics and the possible techniques and methodologies that are applied to understand various molecules. The final paper or paper 4 is about applied biophysics. In this particular paper, you will be asked questions pertaining to the possible applications of biophysics across various fields, not just molecular biophysics. It can be like questions pertaining to computer tomography, it could be questions in positron emission tomography, nuclear imaging, radiology, effects of radiation, and things like that. After these 4 papers, you also have what you call as a grand viva. During this grand viva, you will be asked questions about the course of biophysics, and You will also be asked to make a presentation of your thesis, a 20 to 25-minute presentation where, where you will very elaborately explain how you did the experiments, what was the outcome, what was the result, what is the interpretation, what is the conclusion before experts in the field who would come down to uh, conduct the examination. So, the grand viva, thesis viva, then you will have the bench viva. What is bench viva? In the bench viva, you will be given a particular experiment, you will be doing the experiment in the morning, and after the completion of the experiment around the afternoon, the experts will come to your bench and they will ask you questions about the experiment, the principles of the experiment, how you did a particular experiment, what result you got. It can be about knowing a molecular weight of a particular DNA fragment. It could be about validating a structure using Ramchandran plot, any such biophysical experiment. And that completes the examination, after which you pass, you will be given your MD Biophysics degree. This is biophysics as a subject. Now I will try to get into understanding biophysics as a research platform. So when we talk about human health, there are two aspects that are usually that come before a doctor. One is to diagnose the patient, one is to provide therapeutics or molecules in a way that the patient is cured, correct? So at biophysics, what we do is we are involved in both these aspects. How? We look for possible potential biomarkers that can reflect what is happening inside the human body. It can be diagnosing cancer, it could be understanding the response of a particular patient to a particular therapy. It could be differentiating two very similar diseases. So that brings down that the biomarkers that we identify as protein signatures have possible diagnostic implications, where looking at the protein signature you are able to tell about what is happening in the patient. Second, we are also looking at the structures of proteins using X-ray crystallography, molecular modeling. So once you study the structure of a protein, it's akin to studying a lock. You study a lock, know the lock, you make a key, you are able to open the lock. A similar such thing where you study certain target proteins which are implicated in the causation of the disease. Once you study those proteins, you are able to design inhibitors that will prevent the function of the protein, thereby preventing a disease. So what does this mean? It means that these become the very first level of developing therapeutics. So diagnostics, therapeutics. These are the main things that are covered. Also, we have newer faculty here who have joined and who are into understanding nerve impulse using patch clamp experiments, uh, signal pathways in various neurological disorders and things like that, right. So, this is the very basis of any research that you take in health sciences, where it is the first step where you propose that few proteins could be biomarkers. I am sure you people understand biomarkers. You have CA125 for ovarian cancer, you have human chorionic gonadotropin for pregnancy, you have CA199 for pancreatic cancer, prostate specific antigen for prostate cancer. In a similar way, we propose that certain proteins which are overexpressed or underexpressed could can tell something about a phenotype of the patient. And in the larger sense, in a holistic way, if you have to see, in the future of health sciences in the couple of decades time, along with all the clinical symptoms, histopathology investigation, various radiological investigations, and understanding all these, there will be a new component which will be called as at a level of molecular level, the molecular diagnostics, which will add information to all these things, and you will have a better picture of what is happening in the human body. And of course, molecules are there. We are developing molecules which we propose as therapeutics for various diseases. So once we propose certain molecules, there is a possibility that we go on to confirming them, validating them using different assays. Then it goes on to animal phase experiments, where you establish that the molecules indeed have a purpose and use in that particular disease in animal model. And after those various stages, there is a possibility of it getting into clinical trials. We are not into it, but there will be people who will take it up at different centers and say, okay, clinical trial stage 1, 2, 3, and then the molecule which we have initially proposed, it's our hope and our dream that it finally reaches the shelves of the pharma stores. So this is the translational. There's a lot of scope for translational research and using this as a research platform. Okay, that is about the research perspective. I will tell you very briefly about how I landed here. So I was doing my house job here at Vallabhgarh for almost a year. I have worked at the blood bank. At some point I had decided that I will not be getting into the conventional medicine, surgery, ophthal and things like that, but I will be doing some very basic research, because I was always fascinated even during my MBBS as to how molecules are there for certain diseases. You have a disease, there are certain drugs, you take the drug and you are fine. How in the first place did the drug come about? That curiosity was always there. So during my house job and things, I was looking at various opportunities, research opportunities, and I, for some reason, I was of the belief that all this drug designing and developing drugs was taking place at Department of Pharmacology. So when I got a decent rank after my MD entrance, I went to pharmacology and said, I'm planning to join your department and this is the vision, or this is what I want to do. But they were very accommodative, they were very helpful. They explained to me saying that that type of work does not take place at their department, and for the thing that I am looking at, I should be joining biophysics, and they very nicely guided me to join biophysics. And once I went to biophysics, of course I met a lot of faculty, and after all interactions and everything, I was very clear that that is the place for me. So there was no hesitancy on the day of counseling. I took biophysics, I did my MD, I did my senior residency and a research stint as a pool officer, and then joined faculty. So I have dabbled in structural biology, proteomics, recombinant biotechnology, molecular biology, and it has been fascinating, it has been fun. I have enjoyed all the work and all the different projects and papers that I have been involved in the last 22 years. And this is what is the academic thing all about. For a person who is joining as a MD Biophysics, if you ask me what are the job opportunities, any research institute has what you call as either a lab of biochemistry or biophysics or biotechnology or nanotechnology or biosciences. They are just different names, but the end of it, many of the experiments, there is a overlap, or it's not confined that one person does only one particular type of experiment. You could have a biochemistry do structural biology, you could have a person in bioengineering who is doing mass spectrometry and things like that. So any research institute, it may be AIIMS, there are a lot of AIIMS institutes that have come up. It could be research facilities at IIT, ICER, and other big institutes like IISc and TIFR. All these places provide ample opportunities for doing biophysical research, where it's an academic setup where you have certain strong ideas about developing something or changing something with respect to the therapeutics and diagnostics. You write a proposal, you are funded, you do the experiment, you interpret, you write papers. This is academic setup. Many of the students also, after finishing their MD Biophysics, they fly abroad postdoctoral, that is after having completed. They go abroad for a short duration of 4 to 5 years at a research institute. It's called a postdoctoral position, where they have learned something, they know something, they want to develop and know the fine tune the knowledge that they have. So, it could be American universities, European universities, Singapore, any university. They sharpen their skills, they gain more acumen, biophysical acumen, and then hone their skills of the techniques that are involved in research, biophysical research. And if they want to stay back there, they stay back there, or they come back to India and get back into academic research and academic research institutes. There are a few students, or there is a possibility or opportunities for students to get into the corporate also. When I say corporate, it means the pharma industry, where very big companies or very big pharma and biotechnology industries have what you call as R&D, research and development. So, after finishing your course, and either directly or after a postdoc stint, you could get into a pharma industry which has a R&D and get into developing new molecules and diagnostics or whatever under the corporate setup or a pharma umbrella. And within this pharma, there are students who are continuing their research at R&D, in R&D positions. There are few students who slightly deviate from research and get into aspect of marketing and what the administrative aspect which is there in pharma companies. That is also there, and a lot of students are also doing that. So, these are all the possible job opportunities. There is one another thing which I at this point will not clearly define because it is still not finalized, but there is a move by the policy makers that biophysicist should be a part of every medical college. When I say medical college in India, every medical college, that either under the capacity of biophysics or in the department of physiology, it has been mandatory, it is going to be made mandatory rather, that there is a person with a biophysics degree. And when you say medical college, MD Biophysics student would best fit the bill. So, this is also a upcoming thought among the policy makers at various things, which we should see where it reaches. These are all the possible job opportunities. So, having said and told all about biophysics, the biophysics course, job opportunities, research platform and everything, I feel I have covered all the aspects which I wanted to tell about this particular subject of biophysics. If you people have any queries or questions, you are feel free to ask. These could be the possible questions that is there in every student who joins henceforth the department, and I will be more than happy to answer. Okay? Yes?
After doing MD, we have to do a PhD. Then after then we go for postdoc. Yeah, after.
Yeah, very good question. The question is whether one has to do a PhD. It's a very apt thing that you have asked. MD Biophysics itself is a degree, and that itself is on par with a PhD, and with this degree you could do all the job opportunities which I explained so forth. I will answer your question in two aspects. In the first aspect, once you are doing your MD Biophysics and are you you spend sufficient time sincerely with the work that has been entrusted to you, and you get some papers under your belt, that itself will show that you belong to the aspect, you belong to the field of biophysical research, and ample opportunities will come your way. Okay. So, what I am trying to say is, the knowledge you know and the papers that you have published is ample evidence to show that there is a research caliber in you. Okay. If you say no, I want the actual license that is there for research, which is reflected by a PhD degree, yes, you could also pursue a PhD degree, and on a topic that is that can be worked out with the person under whom you will be working, and then you spend 5 years, okay, doing the experiments, interpreting it, drafting a thesis, submitting it, and then you will be getting a PhD degree also. It's a very common thing in American Western setup to have a MD PhD degree, a dual degree, but not so much in India. But a PhD degree will actually give the, what you call, it's called icing on the cake, right? Something is unfinished, something you're doing research day in and day out, you're thinking about aspects of academic and papers, you may as well have the degree. It's like a person who knows very nicely to drive a car but does not have a license, right? When he has a car, when he knows how to drive, when he's able to take the car and move around on the roads, he may as well keep a license, no? Something to that effect. So it's not mandatory, it's not compulsory, it's purely on the interest of the student. Okay, but a lot of people here have finished MD and are doing well in whatever jobs at different fields, academic and corporate and things like that. I hope I have answered the question. Anything else?
So, what are the corporate opportunities in India?
So the next question pertains to corporate opportunities in India. India is a very upcoming growing field in different aspects, both in terms of um, technology, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of science, in terms of going on par with developed countries. So in much the similar way, there are a lot of pharma companies that are there within India. I don't want to tell names of companies and then promote and things like that. There are a lot of pharma companies and biotech companies which are there, and many of these companies have a R&D wing, research and development. So they have very full-fledged labs with state of art infrastructure, mass spec machines, and other sophistication. So if you have had a decent stint during your MD as a research with uh, uh, then it's possible to get into this R&D and continue the techniques that you would have learned. You can use them in the corporate pharma company or biotech company, and slowly gradually grow within that particular company. It's there. And as I said, few people deviate and get on to administration and what do you call, marketing, those things are also there. It depends on your interest and your way of looking at a job profile. Yeah. Yes. Anything else?
So what are upcoming avenues in biophysics?
So even as I speak, actually just in today's paper, there is an article on one of the faculty who is looking at in the newspaper today, Times of India. One of the faculty in the biophysics department is looking at exosomes and things like that in the saliva to diagnose Alzheimer's disease, and that has come in the papers today. So that is moving in the direction of what I was saying, the diagnostics, and he's patenting and things like that. And I myself have couple of big projects over the last decade towards understanding pharmacological intervention in two diseases, dopamine dictated diseases like schizophrenia and Parkinson's disease, where we are, along with IIT Delhi, we are trying to develop a chip which can actually tell about impending side effects because of the medicines that are taken in Parkinson's and schizophrenia. So to tell you a situation where a patient is taking a lot of uh, medicines for Parkinson's, but he does not know when he is going to get the side effect, or he does not know when he is getting into that phase where he starts to have uh, the adverse effects of the drug. So if you have a prior idea, you could tweak the dosage or stop the treatment and things like that is the situation we are looking at. So again, I have to come down to saying diagnostics, therapeutics, nanomedicine and things like that is there, and many of the techniques that we use is also very common to stem cell therapy and genomic uh, sequencing, miRNA, interventional RNA. There are a lot of new avenues that are coming up, which the principles are guided by you finally have biological entities and machines. While the biological entity you get from biology, the physical principles that are used in using different sophistications and machines becomes easier by the understanding of biophysics. So you are able to grasp the subject and very quickly learn certain upcoming fields of stem cell therapy and gene therapy. Yes.
Sir, how much is AI knowledge related, like required to delve into the subjects of biophysics? Like everything nowadays that's getting involved with AI.
Artificial intelligence is more about where sophistication and instrumentation understands a particular pattern that is fed over number of times, and then it starts to make a prediction or starts to make an assessment. Even if I have to say, in the very molecular level, we as such as of today do not have a direct application of artificial intelligence. In a very remote way, you may know that we are trying to predict a structure of protein. How is it done? At some level it is AI based on the number of hundreds of structures that are there. The computer is trying to decipher the structure of a protein. There is a very small element of AI, but here as such in the department there is no direct either teaching or application of AI, but some of the faculty here at AIIMS and at the Department of Biophysics are trying to collaborate with the biomedical engineering department at various IITs which have artificial intelligence to upgrade their skills and hone their skills in a way that they can be more relevant in the current context of things. For example, uh, you have certain molecular signatures or images of a pre-cancer lesion, whether we can, the computer or the sophistication can tell which of these will get into malignancy based upon thousands and thousands of previous histories and previous occurrences, whether it can tell and things like that. For this question, I have to say that there's a lot of gray area between different subjects. You have biomedical engineering, you have biophysics, bioscience, biochemistry, biotechnology. It looks as though there are boundaries around each of these subjects. It's not there because there's an overlap. There is no point in saying that you are from that field, I am from this field. It doesn't work that way. There are overlaps and we have to respect that overlap and try to know something of everything so that collaborations are possible and interactions are possible amongst the faculty for a bigger outcome of research or better understanding of the subject. So, AI comes within that border of biophysics, biomedical engineering. It's somewhere there in the gray area between these subjects. Yeah. Anything else? You were having some question, MSc,
Difference, uh, how is MD Biophysics going to be different from MSc Biophysics?
the papers and the course structure is somewhat the same. MD Biophysics people, the students have to give an additional paper, that is the fourth paper, where there is application of biophysical principles to understand human body and human health, like all the imaging and things like that. But otherwise, on the scope wise, it's a unwritten rule that after MSc a person has to do a PhD, compulsorily do a PhD. No, MSc is a takes you to that particular level and you need to develop on that, and the PhD degree confers a doctorate degree to a student, after which he or she feels more secure in terms of knowing the subject and having done something and getting into research. But otherwise, a MD degree is as suffice as a PhD degree, because here it is not mandatory to do a PhD, it's left to the student choice whether you want to pursue another degree or not, but MD degree is good enough and big enough.
So what are the other fields, like we are doing molecular biophysics?
Correct. So the question from the student is, what are the other fields where you have this aspect of biophysics? I told you in the very beginning of the lecture, if you go to certain universities and talk about biophysics, it is implied that you are talking about radiation biophysics, because in that department of biophysics at that university or institute, all that they do is understand the effects of radiation on cells and human body, which comes under the purview of biophysics. At few other places, it is all about using certain techniques like nuclear magnetic resonance imaging or things like that. In few other universities, it's all about understanding nerve signals. That has a lot of biophysical principles. Few of the faculty have started to do at our department, but understanding nerve signals using patch clamp or such sort of electrophysiology studies comes under the purview of biophysics. Okay. So all these are biophysics. it just so happens that the biophysics at this department and few other departments like biophysics at Indian Institute of Science, we are talking about molecular biophysics, which pertains to characterizing the structure of the protein, function of the protein, and understanding what is, to what extent is the protein being expressed in the cell or the organ. This becomes a very molecular perspective using mass spectrometry, X-ray crystallography, CD spectrum, Raman spectroscopy, infrared spectroscopy. All these are instruments and principles that are used in the characterization of these proteins and genes. Getting it? But by and large, when you move on to the next job or move on to the next lab, you are assessed or you are seen not just as a MD Biophysics student. The MD Biophysics student says you have the basic theory understanding of biophysics and things like that. Your papers, your publications will reflect how much you have worked, in what field you have worked, what are all the techniques you know. That will be reflected through your papers. Getting it? And based on the cumulative thing of degree, experience 3 years and the papers, the cumulative thing will get you your next position or job or whatever. It is not just MD degree certificate or not just one paper or just saying that I am biophysics AIIMS. Together you are assessed and given a job. Yeah, please.
Sir, what are the prospects of NGS, next generation sequencing?
Again, I come down to the same thing. There are few faculty, including our own head, who does a lot of genome sequencing and next generation sequencing, which are used today to understand various genotypes and in turn the phenotypes of a disease and things like that. The very principles of this DNA sequencing and the next genome sequencing from the machine, understanding the machine involves a thorough understanding of physical principles, and because you are applying to DNA and genome, it becomes biophysical principles. So, you will gain a lot of theoretical knowledge and probably even hands-on experience, because we have a lot of next genome sequencing machines here at AIIMS and at the Central Research Facility. You have lot of opportunities to know, learn, use, apply, but that becomes a particular within the purview of the entire biophysics. It is one of the aspects that you can pursue based on your interest and take it up as a line. So, you have NGS, you have X-ray crystallography, then you have computational biology, then you have proteomics where you use mass spectrometry to understand protein expression. You have patch clamp electrophysiological studies. So, you have different techniques and different labs. So, each will take you into different direction, right. So, opportunities are there, experts are there, your interest, your skills, your participation will tell how much or how far you go in each of these. But you will have an exposure to all this over the period of 3 years, right.
After MD, we can directly apply for postdoc.
Yes, after MD you can say that you have pursued MD biophysics at AIIMS and you are looking to gain more knowledge and research at a particular lab. It can be America or Germany. So, the person there or the investigator there, if he has, for example, say you have worked with a faculty here on understanding a structure of a particular protein, and you have developed some molecules, and that is your paper or thesis. And the boss, the investigator there has got a project where, along with understanding different aspects of the proteins, he is committed to understanding the crystal structure, and he wants certain students and people to work. He wants 2 or 3 people to for that particular part of work, and he will advertise saying, this is what I am looking for, this is the expertise I want, and based upon your skills and what you have learnt and your paper, it matches with what he has asked. You apply to him, you say, these are the degrees I have, these are the papers I have, this is my recommendation from my guide here at the department, and if he is able to work out and arrange a visa and other things, you could go there for a postdoc. There are people who have gone there for postdoc after doing MD, things like that. Possible. Questions? Everything answered? Even if you think some friend of yours who has joined has certain questions, that person is not here, you can ask the questions. I will answer it and it will become a comprehensive video. Any other questions? So now coming to the aspect of uh, you have to have a very clear idea that you want to do basic research first and foremost, right? If you have it in you that I have to see a patient, I have to do surgery, only then I have contributed to medicine, then this is not the place, because we get samples, we do get for doing whatever uh, proteomics, genomics, so we do get samples, but there is no direct what do you call, doctor patient interaction. If you feel that that is what you are meant to do, then you have to actually think about it, because here it is a very basic research. But on the other hand, if you feel you want to contribute to medicine, you want to contribute to the understanding of the human body, it is not compulsory that only by seeing a patient you can do that. Even by working in a lab, even by working in on a research project, you can contribute to that. That you need to understand. Can you contribute or not? Yes, because if you see at the clinical side, they are using certain medicines. You agree? They open the shelf, they have certain medicines, they are giving the patient. Where are the medicines coming from? You getting? The medicines have to come from the lab. The medicines have to make their way from the lab and be tested on animals and then pass through thing, only then it reaches. The very first step is here. You want to diagnose a disease using a chip. Where will the chip come from? The clinician is using it. The patient is there. The patient is thanking a doctor. All that is fine. But the chip has to come from basic research. So you have contributed. You are a part of the entire picture, probably in the background or behind the screen, but you are there. No, it is just like a big movie. A very famous hit movie. Not everybody who participated can be on the screen. No, the hero, heroine, all those people will be there, but there are a lot of people, lot of work that goes on behind the screens, which has also contributed to the color, glamour and thing that you see on the screen. That you have to, something like that. It has to start. So the contributions can be made to medicine even by working in a lab using test tubes and things, right? So that you have to have, and then of course interest and participation. You are well on your way to contributing to medicine and science. Thank you so much.